Yeah, no, I mean, that's the critical question. There have obviously been two routes that have been proposed to constitutional amendments. One involves a convention, and one involves the proposal by Congress and ratification by states. And neither one may be entirely realistic to believe we're going to achieve. Each may present possibilities for mobilizing people toward understanding the policy solutions and the problems that we're facing in our democracy, and provide some pressure for the political system to fix itself. I very much, understand and sympathize both emotionally and intellectually with the conception that if this is broken, we've got to try something else. But I do feel that if we can't come up with some reasonable confidence that the process itself is not going to be affected by these same problems that we've observed in the current process, to me it raises a question of what are we accomplishing? What are we accomplishing? And and it is a question. And I would love to hear about proposals for how a convention could be structured to avoid that issue, avoid that problem.
Thanks, Jake. I think that's a fair question. What's the alternative? As a representative for the Move to Amend coalition, I want to be clear that I think that it's fair to say that we are profoundly, adamantly, absolutely ambivalent about an Article 5 convention. And I mean that seriously, even though we are absolutely committed to an amendment, right, or to a series of amendments. And I think that's important because it's not just an applause line, it's also that I, as an organizer, recognize this. We are going to need a broad and deep social movement in order to amend the Constitution, right? That's what we have to have. And as a community organizer who comes out of that background, I look to the civil rights struggle. I look to the trade union movement. I look to abolition. I look to the women's struggle, and they didn't parse this kind of stuff out. At least in the details, I think what they did was to say, I stand for codifying a new social contract, and I will now take off the Move to Amend hat and put on the David Cobb hat and say, the social contract I want to be part of says we have access to health care as a fundamental human right. Every human being has enough food to eat. Everybody has adequate housing in this country. We need to start talking like that, y'all. As Americans, we need to start talking like that. And here's the thing. I want to get to the question because I think that the sister Alejandra makes a very important point. Those concerns are all valid. I share them politically. You know that. But here's the thing. Like the fork in the road on, because we're talking about Article 5 convention. Article 5 is also the amendment process through Congress, folks. Remember that, right? And the founders did not make one distinguishable from another by any reasonable terms, right? It's both there. As an original interpretus, I know, Andy, we had a conversation last night. You proudly proclaimed original intent. Well, the founders' clear intent was it's the same thing. What I would say is this. The world that I want to live in, we need a broad and deep social movement pushing it. At some point, a fork in the road will come, and we'll have to decide, or I will have to decide, and others that I work with, do we have the political movement to actually get her done in Congress, or do we actually go through a constitutional convention process? The reason I'm ambivalent is because I don't know right now, and I don't pretend to know right now. I do know this, that the world that I'm living in now ain't the one I want to live in, because I'll go one step further. The United States of America is racist, it's sexist, it's class oppressive, and I'd like to be part of a different United States of America. And so, here's the thing. And I want to get to your very question. All right, the alternative is, I think that parsing whether we go Article 5 convention or through the Congress right now is in some respects premature because we don't actually have a movement. And I think it's worth pointing out that the left and the right, there are many voices who are absolutely fearful of it, and maybe that's a good thing.